There's a very interesting halacha with regards to giving food, serving all sorts of refreshments to people who do not make brachot. Is it permissible or not? There's a Gemara in Masechet Cholin, Daf Kuf Zayin. The Gemara discusses that it is asur to give bread to a person who doesn't wash his hands, netilat yadayim, because of the Torah prohibition of lifnei iver lo titen michshol. You're not allowed to place a stumbling block in front of a blind man, which means you're not allowed to cause a person to trip in something, whether it's physical or even spiritual or religious. You cannot cause him to do an isur. Now there's discussion whether Maran HaShulchan Aruch brings this halacha. Lechaura, it seems from the words of Maran that even if you're not sure that he's not going to do netilat yadayim, even if you're misupak, you still can't. According to Maran HaShulchan Aruch, the only time you can serve a person bread is when you know for sure that he will do netilat yadayim. It seems that the same would be with regards to brachot, that you would not be able to serve food to a person who you know is not going to make brachot. The Rama and other poskim bring down a similar law. Now what are you going to say? And wait a second, how can you have this isur of lifnei iver lo titen michshol, which is a Torah prohibition with regards to brachot, making birkot ne'anin, blessings of enjoyment, which are only midrabanan to begin with? The Torah Chesed Milublin discusses this, and he proves that you can have the isur of lifnei iver even on an isur d'Rabbanan. How so? Because he says, if you actually physically put a stumbling block in front of a blind man and you cause him to trip, certainly you did the isur lo ta'aseh. Now if you cause a person to do an isur d'Rabbanan, then that's even worse than causing him to trip, because he's going to be punished in olam haba. So if that's the case, then that's even worse. Certainly you should transgress the isur Torah v'lifnei iver. Nevertheless, in this situation, this question was posed to Gaon Chazon Ish many years ago by Gaon of Shalom Shvadron, the Magid of Yerushalayim. He asked him, sometimes, especially in Eretz Yisrael, where there's non-religious Jews and things like that, are you allowed to serve them refreshments when you know they're not going to make a bracha? So he answered, in a situation like this, where if you don't serve them, they're going to come to hate you. They're going to say, oh, you see, these Charedim, these religious people, whatever, they're going to come to hate you, so he's going to be doing an even greater isur than not making brachot or not doing netilat yadayim, is that you're going to cause him to transgress the isur of lo tisnat achicha b'levavecha. So he says over there, b'di'avad, that's the situation, it's mutar. Similarly, a Gaon of Shlomo Zalman Auerbach says the same in Minchat Shlomo Chelik Aleph with regards to, let's say there's a person who supports Torah, a person who donates a lot of money to yeshivot, to kolenim, to bate knesset, mikvaot, whatever it is, and now he comes over, and now you don't want to serve him because he doesn't make brachot. He's not religious. So over there he says there's room to be mekel, also because you don't want him to stop the funding for Torah when you say, oh, you see, these people are not well-mannered, they don't have manners, they don't have etiquette, so they're going to stop all the funding. He says you don't have to. Maran Zichrono Bracha holds la halacha. He brings down this idea. He says preferably you should not get into this situation to begin with, which means if you have somebody non-religious, you come and you can ask him very politely. Many times, you know, even that we live in a generation today where if you make a peep to anybody, they get all insulted. You know, if you tell them maybe you want to make a bracha, so if you can do that and the guy doesn't get insulted, matov mana'im. And even if the guy gets insulted, who cares? He asked him to make a bracha, big deal. Worst case scenario, you say, listen, I have a better idea. Don't make any brachot. I'm going to make a bracha. All you need to do is answer amen. That's it. Make the bracha for him and then eat together with him, and then you're motzi. If this doesn't work and that doesn't work, he doesn't want to make the bracha, he doesn't want to listen to the bracha, the guy's mamash mumar lach'is, says no brachot. So over there he says, there's barely what to rely on based on what we said before from the Chazon Ish and from the other poskim. What are you going to do? You don't want them to hate their fellow Jews, so leave them alone. You certainly shouldn't serve him into his hand, just put it in front of him and let him take it on his own, in which case, according to some poskim, it's considered like you didn't serve him. Yom Tov.